Saskatchewan Court of Appeals rules UR Pride can challenge the Parents' Bill of Rights. The Premier faces criticism as he travels north to see the wildfire damage. And a girl is in serious condition after being shot while inside her home.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. Premier Scott Moe is in northern Saskatchewan touring some of the communities impacted by wildfires. But for the Saskatchewan NDP and some wildfire evacuees, the visit is too little too late. Hallie Mandrick has the story.
Dustin Trumbley's home in Daire was recently lost to the wildfires, which have devastated the community.
I've lost so many mementos from my grandfather. It bugs me still to this day. I should have got more out, but I thought we would have help.
He recently spoke at an NDP press conference, which criticized the Sask party for hosting an upcoming golf fundraiser in a community not far from a national park that felt the effects of the wildfires. The Sask party responded, noting NDP fundraisers were held in other areas of Saskatchewan. Meanwhile, Trumbley says he feels his community was not properly supported by the province.
I don't want to see it to happen to you, to your family, to anywhere. We should not be at fault because I was born and raised in the North. I should not be forgotten about because I was born and raised in the North. And that's how I feel. I feel like we were forgotten about and abandoned.
The summer in northern Saskatchewan has been plagued by wildfires and air quality alerts. Premier Scott Moe and Minister responsible for SPSA Tim McLeod are visiting Loche and Beval to meet with local leaders and visit SPSA facilities. In a statement provided to CTV, the provincial government says a collaboration between the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency, Ministry of Government Relations, Social Services, Environment, and SGI has been set up to assist the Daire community, stating this joint effort has allowed the task force and communities to accelerate the achievement of multiple milestones, including establishing a community resiliency center in Daire Beach for individuals and families, clearing debris from properties, and removing hundreds of lost vehicles. But for Trumbley, he says the action comes a little late this year.
I would really like to know for next time that I know that the government and their programs will be in place to make sure that there will be help, essentially, so that this doesn't ever happen again. That's all I've asked.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Since its inception almost 2 years ago, Saskatchewan's Parents' Bill of Rights has had its detractors, including UR Pride, who sees the legislation as an attack on the LGBTQ2S+ community. Today, that group, along with its allies, are celebrating a victory in the courts with a ruling they are allowed to legally challenge the legislation on the basis of the Canadian Charter of Rights. Mick Fable has the details.
A legal challenge to the province's pronoun policy will be allowed to proceed by the Saskatchewan's Court of Appeal. Saskatchewan's highest court ruled a judge will hear the charter case against the pronoun law, even if a King's Bench judge is barred from striking it down. Introduced in 2023, the Parents' Bill of Rights requires students under the ages of 16 to have parental permission before changing their name or pronouns at school. Despite heavy criticism from advocacy groups and opposition, the Saskatchewan government passed the bill. UR Pride has opposed the Parents' Bill of Rights since the policy's creation, saying it violates the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. UR Pride halted the policy's mandate once before eventually taking the government of Saskatchewan to court. EGAL Canada, who launched a legal challenge with UR Pride, supports the court's decision. At the base of this case is government policy that the Court of King's Bench found, on the base of expert evidence, would cause irreparable harm to vulnerable young people, said EGAL. In a statement to CTV News, the government of Saskatchewan said, "Our government will always protect parents' rights to be involved in their children's education. The Parents' Bill of Rights provides parents with the assurance that they will be involved in important decisions involving their children and that important information involving their children will not be withheld from them." The ruling will allow UR Pride's challenge to be heard at the Court of King's Bench in the future. The law will remain in place regardless of what the court rules due to the protections of the notwithstanding clause. Mick Fable, CTV News, Regina.
An 11-year-old girl is recovering in hospital after an apparent shooting early this morning in Regina. Police say it happened at a residence on the 1000 block of Edgar Street just after 2 a.m. The girl inside was taken to hospital for treatment of a gunshot wound. Her injuries described as serious. Early investigation shows multiple shots were fired at the residence from the outside, but at this point there appears to be no risk to the public. Anyone with information or video surveillance of the area is asked to reach out to Regina Police or Crime Stoppers. RCMP say a police presence in Swift Current on Friday and into the weekend was due to a suspicious death. According to police, a man was injured at a home on 1st Avenue Northwest in Swift Current early Friday morning. The man was taken to hospital where he was declared dead, identified as a 29-year-old man from Swift Current. Major Crimes has taken control of the investigation. Police say there is no threat to the public. A man on Canada's most wanted list for his involvement in a Saskatoon murder is in custody tonight, arrested by Montreal police at the airport after returning to the country. Stacey Hine has the details.
This male is on the ground here bleeding. I'm just going to see whether he's got any pulse.
It's been more than 3 years since Saskatoon police arrived at a Nutana apartment building and found the body of 29-year-old Brandon Baxendall. Now another suspect in the murder, Jonathan Ouellette-Gendron, has been arrested. The 36-year-old was listed at number 10 on Canada's top 25 most wanted fugitives. On Saturday, Quebec Provincial Police say officers arrested him at Montreal's Trudeau International Airport while he was returning to Canada. He was scheduled to appear in a Montreal courthouse Sunday. Ouellette-Gendron is facing first-degree murder and drug trafficking charges in Saskatoon. He's been on the run since May 2022 following Baxendall's death. This YouTube video from Saskatoon Police, published late last year, shares some details on their investigation. The video shows officers putting up tape, canvassing the area, collecting evidence, photographing the scene, and conducting interviews. The video says in the hours following, 3 guns were recovered by police. A few days later, police charged Mohammed Abdullah Ali. Last year, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison after pleading guilty to manslaughter.
As for Ouellette-Gendron, the Saskatoon Police Service told CTV News it's waiting until he's brought back from Montreal before commenting on this case. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Healthcare in rural Saskatchewan has been a contentious topic in recent years, with some communities experiencing reduced hours or closures. As Jasmine Pelche tells us, the Sask NDP revealed new data showing what areas have been impacted the most.
The NDP says it has obtained SHA data on healthcare disruptions through a Freedom of Information request and released the numbers Monday morning.
Every time a service closes, it puts even more pressure on surrounding communities and on already overstretched urban hospitals.
The NDP says that from February 2018 to July 2019, there were 86 disruptions to healthcare over the 18 months, totaling 808 days. But in the most recent 18 months, the number has risen to 643 disruptions, lasting 3,362 days.
People show up literally to their local hospital and find a sign on the door telling them that the hospital is closed.
The NDP says the Victoria Hospital in Prince Albert has seen 113 days of healthcare disruptions between February of 2018 and May of 2025. The province provided CTV with a statement saying since the launch of the Health Human Resource Action Plan, Prince Albert has seen an additional 61 healthcare professionals hired under the Rural and Remote Recruitment Incentive. It goes on to say the SHA has implemented several strategies to stabilize and enhance access to ER services in rural and remote communities, including the virtual physician program, point-of-care testing, and various healthcare human resource initiatives. And it continues to receive positive feedback from rural physicians, local leadership, and community members about these initiatives. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Saskatchewan's First Nations health ombudsperson is speaking out after an incident at Royal University Hospital in Saskatoon. Diane Lafon says a 54-year-old First Nations woman had her hair shaved without consent at the hospital 2 months ago when the woman was incapacitated and unable to provide consent. Lafon called the incident a great betrayal of trust and a violation of cultural safety. The Saskatchewan Health Authority enacted a new policy at the beginning of the month to prevent further incidents. The policy specifies that cutting hair is not necessary to treat lice and should only happen for emergencies such as brain injuries or surgeries. However, Lafon claims the family has not received a formal apology or meaningful follow-up. And Sabine joins us for our first look at weather. And Sabine, we did see some warnings earlier, or not warnings, some watches for thunderstorms earlier today, but those have all disappeared.
They have lifted for now. Now, we know how systems work, Lee. There's a chance we could see them return later this evening because the rain is not completely gone. We did see some rain coming through parts of southeast Saskatchewan earlier today, including right here in Regina. But as Lee mentioned, those watches have all lifted, but the rain, as you can see on the radar satellite, continues through some parts of the province, and that could continue into tomorrow as well. Most of the rain making its way into Saskatchewan, though, starting tomorrow will be in the north, and then there is a slight chance later tomorrow night we could see some of that rain return. But temperatures are also much cooler than what our seasonal is. Currently, we're sitting at most of those temperatures in the low 20s. The average is about 26 degrees. We only warmed up to 23 today, but it's back to sunny and seasonal conditions as we start the rest of this, or we continue. I guess we already started. Heading into the rest of this week, we'll be back into the sunny seasonal conditions. I'll have details in your full forecast. Lee?
All right, thanks, Sabine. Residents along Saskatchewan's southern border with the United States may spot more drones on patrol in the near future. The RCMP is announcing the creation of a remotely piloted aircraft system along Canadian airspace near the border, with an introduction and trial in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Effective 9 p.m. today, a corridor will be created that's 500 feet high and within a nautical mile north of the border. Police say the patrols will be used to improve security against issues like illegal entry and smuggling. The corridor won't impact flight paths, but local pilots or planes or drones are asked to use caution and notify RCMP ahead of time if they're planning to fly in that airspace. The historic St. Andrew's United Church building in downtown Moose Jaw has been sold, but will remain a religious facility. It has been purchased by a church next door that has outgrown its current space. Wayne Mantica has more.
Volunteers from Victory Church have started renovations on their new worship space. The growing congregation has purchased the historic St. Andrew's United Church building in downtown Moose Jaw.
Well, we're excited for the new space, and we're going to have church as normal, kind of the Victory style.
St. Andrew's was constructed in the early 1900s to seat 750 people. Declining attendance in recent years prompted the sale. Victory Church is located just across the alley and was bursting at the seams with average Sunday attendance of 800 people.
We've been on this incredible growth journey, and we are at 3 services now in our current facility. We're planning on going to 4 services.
Victory Church is known for a modern style of worship. Moving into a century-old setting will require modifications, primarily on the technical side.
Acoustics will be our biggest challenge. It's going to be a lot because that room, I believe, is made for the organ and a cappella music for choirs. And with us using electric instruments will be really be a challenge, but we are getting professionals, engineers to help us.
The building had been listed for sale at $1.2 million. Victory Church paid $750,000.
What our congregation's used to is not the grand cathedral style, but we're excited to step into that and to try something new. And for us, this is new.
Victory Church feels it would have been a shame had this building been significantly altered and transformed for another use. The church is pleased to play a role in maintaining this building for its intended purpose as a house of worship. Wayne Mantica, CTV News, Moose Jaw.
The Canadian government has announced more than $1 million is going towards local companies that innovate using artificial intelligence. Brittany Poitras explains.
Hear about the samples?
Artificial intelligence seems to be everywhere these days. For the founders of Regina's Ground Truth, the AI that they use is a new way of creating consistency in crop grading.
We built a system that can grade grain. Grain has been graded the same way by humans for the last 110, 120 years, and so we built a system that can automate that process,
assisting both grain sellers and buyers. Now, his company is getting a boost from the federal government to the tune of nearly $600,000.
Other companies around the world, as they begin to use AI, we won't be able to compete unless we are doing the same.
It's part of a $1.3 million cash injection in the form of loans for 3 Saskatchewan companies who innovate using AI. The CEO of GreenWave says the value is finding efficiency.
AI is picking up on those things much faster than we're able to do manually. So it's quite exciting to use people more effectively and use capital and resources more effectively.
Kyle Smith with Off Street Technologies says the Prairies Can investment into the local companies will help them grow into the global market.
And our goal is to capture more of the university market in North America. Right now we work with about 65 different universities, and we're looking to expand to try and get all of them, and there's about 800 of them in the U.S.
Smith adds these investments will help Saskatchewan businesses remain leaders in the marketplace. And with the growth of global artificial intelligence, Olszewski says it will be key for Canadian businesses to stay in the forefront of exploring applications. Brittany Poitras, CTV News, Regina.
Still ahead, Air Canada flight attendants protest at 4 Canadian airports. And to curb crime, U.S. President Donald Trump puts Washington, D.C. under federal control. With just days to go before a possible strike, Air Canada flight attendants were mobilizing across Canada with protests outside the country's 4 largest airports. Sean Leathong has more from Pearson Airport in Toronto.
A massive show of solidarity. Hundreds of Air Canada flight attendants silent in front of the country's largest airport, demanding a better collective deal.
We are here standing in silence in support of our union as they negotiate with our employer.
Over 400 members of CUPE Local 498 filed off 9 buses and onto the sidewalk outside Pearson Airport's Terminal 1, joined across the country in Calgary, along with Vancouver and Montreal. While not impacting regular operations, the statement making an impression on passengers.
I think it's very profound. It's quite impressive that many people have come together to do something as one group.
So I think showing this kind of thing, showing that labor has some power, that workers' rights really still live in Canada, I think it's really important.
The main area of concern in negotiations, wages and unpaid work.
So just have a little bit of space.
Shannon Elliott saying they're only paid while their plane is in motion.
We're required to be at the aircraft an hour before boarding to ensure that the aircraft is safe from our end. We are also not paid for any of our boarding time, any of our deplaning time. If there is a medical emergency on the ground and we're providing vital, life-saving first aid, we're not compensated for that.
Air Canada saying they respect their flight attendants' rights to express themselves in a statement that reads in part, Air Canada remains at the bargaining table and is focused on achieving a negotiated settlement with CUPE, one that recognizes the contributions of its flight attendants by making them the best compensated in the country. The deadline to reach a deal is midnight Friday, the union having voted over 99% in favor of a strike, and they'd have to give a 72-hour strike notice as soon as Wednesday.
It will be pretty monumental.
But the union will not say if all 10,000 workers will walk off the job.
It's been 10 years. What I would ask is for a little bit of patience and understanding that we are just like any other Canadian and want to be compensated.
So while flight attendants came to a brief standstill at Pearson today, if no deal is reached by midnight Friday, air traffic could come to a standstill on Saturday. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
A man in BC has been rescued after being lost in the wilderness for more than a week. The man was rescued in a clearing where he had written help on a big rock. Officials say the man was last seen July 28th after he drove up a forest access road and got lost. After days of searching, a rescue helicopter spotted the man's truck before seeing the message on the rock. The man reportedly stayed alive by drinking pond water and using grass to keep warm. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is promoting her province's energy in Mexico City. Smith is meeting with government officials as well as private sector and industry leaders in an effort to encourage new investment and trade. Mexico is Alberta's 4th largest trading partner and is one of the province's fastest growing export markets. In 2024, bilateral trade between Alberta and Mexico totaled nearly $2.9 billion. Smith's trip marks the first official visit to Mexico by an Alberta Premier since 2019. It was a busy day for U.S. President Donald Trump, placing the U.S. Capitol under federal control, deploying the National Guard. He was also pressed for details about Friday's upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. CTV's Mike Ligatur has more from Washington.
Now, today's press conference was all about President Trump flexing his muscle, saying that only he can clean up the U.S. Capitol, and adding that no one else can broker a deal to end the war between Russia and Ukraine.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor.
The U.S. president describing it as Liberation Day in D.C. In a bid to crack down on crime, Trump is placing Washington under federal control while also deploying the National Guard.
But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
On the streets of D.C., protesters pushed back on the idea that the Capitol isn't safe. And Mayor Muriel Bowser said violent crime is at its lowest level in more than 3 decades.
If they can place us under military control without our consent, they will carry this playbook to every community that dares to push back in the United States of America.
While using his authority on the Capitol, President Trump was asked how he'll push Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday in Alaska, in what Trump is describing as a feel-out meeting.
Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine.
Trump also used the term land swap, indicating that Ukraine could also have to give up some territory. Ukraine's president is not invited to the talks, and in his nightly address, cast doubt that Friday's meeting will bring peace.
На що розраховує Путін і до чого реально готується?
Volodymyr Zelensky said Putin is not getting ready for peace, but instead is getting ready for a new military offensive. Zelensky also spoke to Prime Minister Mark Carney today, where the two leaders agreed international borders cannot be changed by force, and that any decision on Ukraine's future should be made by Ukrainians. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Hundreds of mourners gathered in Gaza City this morning for the funeral procession of a prominent Al Jazeera journalist who was killed along with 4 colleagues by an Israeli airstrike on Sunday. Anas al-Sharif was one of the network's most recognizable faces in Gaza. Al-Sharif, along with another correspondent and 3 cameramen, were in a tent for journalists when they were struck. 2 others were also killed. Israel's military confirms it had targeted Sharif, claiming he was a Hamas leader, an allegation that was dismissed by Al Jazeera. The network calls the strike another blatant and premeditated attack on press freedom. Australia says it will recognize a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly in September.
Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority. We will work with the international community to make this right a reality.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the Palestinian Authority has promised to hold general elections and to recognize Israel's right to exist. He's been facing weeks of pressure from his cabinet to recognize a Palestinian state amid growing criticism over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Back home, hundreds of Navy personnel are being deployed to the Arctic on a ship with Saskatchewan connections. The HMCS Regina is sailing north from BC to enhance awareness of maritime activities and reinforce Canadian sovereignty in the region. Some military families came to bid farewell to their loved ones who will be away for 6 weeks to several months.
We're losing a family member for 6 weeks, and we're going to miss him very, very much. So, of course, we wanted to give him all of our best wishes and a nice send-off, and to everybody else who's going out on the deployment as well.
The Military Family Resource Center, part of today's Sail Past, it helps those families build networks with one another, and it also offers childcare, counseling, and wellness programs, which can be a huge help during deployments. Coming up, you've seen a concert at an arena, arts center, the Capel Valley with Country Thunder, but what about a grain elevator?
The Sask Sports Hall of Fame set to welcome new members next month. In the morning, we're sitting down with the CEO to talk all about the induction and upcoming programming.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
welcome back. Time now to check out what we've got going on when it comes to the weather. Much clearer, and even some folks out on Wascana Lake enjoying the beautiful weather we have right now. Earlier, we had quite a bit of rain coming through. Actually, through this exact shot, there was some heavy rain and some strong winds that came through. We did see the winds gusting over 50 kilometers an hour. Actually, just even about an hour ago, the temperature dropped to about 17 degrees. Now we are back up to 21 with the winds at about 15 kilometers an hour. Now, taking a look at what we did have come through on our radar satellite over the last little while, it was just pockets of precipitation coming through. So we didn't actually see all that heavy rain that I just mentioned around the Wascana Lake area that came through. Even within the city, we didn't see that rain in many areas, including here in the east. It didn't hit hard like it was showing on Wascana Lake there. But what we've got coming up, we'll start to see this system completely clear out, leaving us with mainly clear conditions into the overnight. And then tomorrow morning, we have, again, most of that rain sticking to the north. We will see a little bit of cloud cover to start your day, but again, we will start to see it turn a little bit more clearer conditions. You can see around the Yorkton area, Regina, even Swift Current, but there is some of that scattered precipitation coming through Prince Albert, even down into Saskatoon, where we could see some of that rain by Tuesday night. So tomorrow evening, you can see around Saskatoon Wynyard seeing that rain. We won't probably see it here in the Regina surrounding areas until tomorrow overnight into the early morning hours of Wednesday, even into the Yorkton Parkland area, and some more returning first thing Wednesday morning. So when you wake up Wednesday morning, it'll certainly look like it has rained, because it has, but then leaving us on Wednesday with mainly sunny conditions, though it does look like we could see the wind start to pick up, and that's thanks to this storm system that'll be coming through Wednesday night as well. So we have some heavier winds coming through, some storm possibilities in and around the Saskatoon area primarily, and then even by Thursday early morning, we could see some more rain come through the southwest. But again, not large systems. It's just some pockets of rain coming through for the central southern parts of the province. Here's a quick look at what we can expect for rainfall totals by Thursday afternoon. Over 60 millimeters expected up in La Ronge, over 50 in Meadow Lake, over 40 in Buffalo Narrows. But down in central southern Saskatchewan, we could see anywhere between about 3 millimeters down in the Weyburn area, 8 expected in Regina, 7 in Saskatoon and Kindersley, and trace amounts in Yorkton. So again, not a lot of rain expected for us. Again, most of it staying in the north. It is the temperatures that'll be back into cooler, if not seasonal range tonight. 8 degrees for Prince Albert tonight, 11 for La Ronge and Lloydminster, 10 for La Loche. But even tomorrow up north, La Loche warming up to just 14 degrees, 17 for La Ronge, and then we're getting back into the 20s. Prince Albert 20, 23 for Lloydminster, also for Saskatoon. So certainly some areas expecting to see those daytime highs a few degrees cooler than the average, but back in the southwest, much warmer there. 28 expected for Maple Creek, 26 for Swift Current and Moose Jaw in the southeast, also back within seasonal for Assiniboia, and just a couple degrees cooler, 24 for Weyburn Estevan. For Regina, 10 degrees tonight, and tomorrow 25, mainly sunny, winds not too bad either there, and that will change as we get into Wednesday. But this is a look at your next 7 days, so actually not too bad. We will have a couple cooler than seasonal days, but more sunshine for the rest of this week. By Wednesday, 28 degrees and sunny, but also the winds quite high, gusting up to about 55, 60 kilometers an hour on Wednesday. But by the time we get into Thursday, 23 and sunny, 22 and sunny on Friday. So a little cooler as you start your weekend. But then by Sunday, again, we're warming back up to 27 degrees, a little bit more cloud cover. And then by Monday, we're back into average range around 27 degrees and mainly sunny conditions. So we do have a bit of a cooler couple of days before we're back into that seasonal range. But we talked about it last week, much cooler overnight lows this week until we get into the weekend where those temperatures warm back up again.
Yeah, it's perfect nights to open those windows and get fresh air in for sure, as long as there's no, obviously, low air quality concerns.
Right. As of right now, there are some air quality warnings just further north, nothing affecting southern Saskatchewan just yet.
All right. Thank you, Spee.
You bet. Well,
everyone appreciates when local artists come back to perform, but it's even better when they're actually singing about their home. Sierra D'Souza Butts has more on how one Saskatchewan musician is paying homage to the grain elevator.
From as far away day as Ottawa, fans are coming out to watch Saskatchewan singer-songwriter Jeffrey Straker.
I'm here to see my dad, who's still part of the community, and just found this opportunity to come and have a vibe by a grain elevator.
Hill is one of many fans attending Straker's concert at Sukin and Ship Pioneer Village and Museum south of Moose Jaw.
He sings a lot about, you know, the small town and the prairies and the farmers, and hats off to those people working.
It's great for rural Saskatchewan because we're losing our grain elevators, and it's a sad fact, and I just had to come and see his tour.
Really takes you back to small town Saskatchewan, where we grew up, and lots of good memories.
Originally from Punashai, Straker is sharing his passion of music and appreciation of farming through his latest tour held at grain elevators.
Such an attachment to these things in the rural communities, because they still sort of symbolize that. They symbolize, you know, an agricultural community.
Performing at 7 different sites across the province, Straker says the elevators bring him back to his childhood.
There's a real interest in these things around the province, and my heart is in these things in particular because my first ever paying job was in the Wheat Pool elevator in Punashai, Saskatchewan, cleaning out the boot of the elevators.
Although this year's tour has wrapped up, Straker says he will continue to carry his prairie pride abroad.
I toot the Saskatchewan horn wherever I go, and everyone loves that I'm singing these songs about the prairies, you know.
Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Moose Jaw.
Still ahead, the Regina Red Sox take a bite out of the berries in the opener for their WCBL East Division Final.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
The Regina Red Sox are just one win away from the WCBL Championship Final after taking the opener of the East Division Final last night in Saskatoon.
Zaid Brannigan, a hit up the middle, and that's going to get through a base hit. And Regina's going to take the lead at 8-7.
Yes, Zaid Brannigan hit an RBI signal in extra innings to give Regina the 7-6 victory. The Red Sox have yet to lose this postseason. Game 2, last time I checked, it was still going tonight in Regina. First pitch 7:05 Curry Field, of course, weather permitting. Sylvan Lake did beat Okotoks in the opener of the West Final. And fresh off her magical run at the National Bank Open in Montreal, Canada's tennis queen Victoria Mboko is soaking up the spotlight, but also trying to stay focused on her next tournament, the U.S. Open. The 18-year-old shocked the tennis world after claiming her first title and shooting up the rankings to number 24. CTV's Adrian Gabriel spoke one-on-one with her today.
Utter disbelief. Victoria Mboko's maiden WTA title.
National Bank Canadian champion. How does that sound?
Now that when you say it like that, I mean, it feels kind of crazy. I'd say it's kind of hitting me a little bit harder now than it was right after the match.
But when you reflect back and you see what you've accomplished in such a short amount of time, what does that mean to you?
If I would have told my younger self that, you know, I would have done something like that, I would have never thought of it.
Your family flees war in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You're born in the U.S. in 2006. Shortly thereafter, you move to Canada. Do you believe the resilience, the perseverance of your parents, of your family, has transferred into your game on the court?
I think it definitely does. Maybe I haven't really experienced what they've experienced along the way, but knowing that kind of sacrifice that they make, they worked overtime, you know, so we can have the opportunity to have more lessons and play in the group practices and play with good people. There was just so many sacrifices along the way that played a big role into who I am today. I think growing up, I always was aware of it, and I think I made more of an effort to try to better myself to make it worth it, you know.
You're 18 years old. You just won your country's top tennis tournament. How does Victoria Mboko stay grounded while continuing to rise?
I think having a great support system around me, having people who know who you are, I think it's very important at tournaments, and and even in life, as I advance in my career, to have just great people around me that can make me feel like me, and who can make me feel comfortable as well.
The teenage champion is indeed sure-footed in the spotlight. Her youthful gaze now shifts to the U.S. Open, where she'll be playing for the very first time, with aspirations of winning her first Grand Slam tournament now on the horizon. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up, Yorkton plays host to the 4-H Saskatchewan Beef Show.
Let's take a look at your rural forecast for tomorrow. So again, we can still expect to see some rain coming through parts of northern Saskatchewan, which we could also see tails of it making its way into central Saskatchewan as well. So some areas like Melfort, like Hudson Bay, a little cooler than seasonal tomorrow. Cloudy for Melfort, 19, and mostly cloudy for Hudson Bay, 19 degrees. Rain for Meadow Lake tomorrow, 20 degrees. Also for Spiritwood, 20 degrees and rain. 23 for Lloydminster and rain there. But down in Kindersley, 26 with a mix of sun and cloud. Outlook, 25 with a mix of sun and cloud. Wynyard, mostly cloudy and 21 degrees. Closer to the southern border, temperatures warming up more than seasonal, especially for Maple Creek, 28 degrees there and mix of sun and cloud. Mainly sunny for Leader and Coronach, 27 degrees, 22 for Broadview and mostly cloudy, and 21 for Kenora. But if we take a closer look at Qu'Appelle, where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel. Qu'Appelle is located about 60 kilometers east of Regina. 22 is the expected high tomorrow, but just northeast of Qu'Appelle, there are some air quality warnings in effect, so we could start to possibly see some hazier conditions, especially to start your day in the Qu'Appelle area. But after that, we'll be left with a mix of sun and cloud.
The incident happened on July the 24th, 2025 at 9 o'clock in the evening at a convenience store on the 3500 block of 5th Avenue. A man walked into the convenience store with a knife and demanded money. He left with about $300 cash.
I'm Constable Dana Adams with the Regina Police Service. Crime Stoppers will pay up to $2,000 cash reward for information on this or any other serious crime in Regina. Callers do not have to identify themselves. Calls are not traced or recorded. In Regina, Saskatchewan, and Canada, call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-8477. You can also access our website at www.reginacrimestoppers.ca. Remember, our community suffers when you remain silent. Please report crime.
Crime Stoppers is brought to you by Leak Audiology, helping you live well with better hearing.
The best of agriculture was on full display at the Gallagher Centre in Yorkton over the weekend as the 4-H Saskatchewan Beef Show and judging competition was in town. Regina Declute has the details.
Cattle from all over Saskatchewan were in for some pampering this past weekend in Yorkton.
So we groom them up, we glue their legs, we put shiny stuff in them to make them all fluffy and they look their best. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
This was all part of the 4-H Saskatchewan Beef Show and judging competition.
We get members from across the province. Every corner is represented here and everywhere in between, and just celebrating all the hard work they put in and creating opportunities for them.
4-H members competed in beef showing, showmanship, and team grooming.
The top 8 competitors from this will move on to the national competition at Agribition in November.
Through their membership, 4-Hers learn valuable life skills.
Public speaking and communication skills and work ethic and being committed to things like that. So there's lots of core values that you can get out of the 4-H program that you can use forever.
In some families, it's tradition to participate.
So my dad, when he was a little boy, he was in 4-H, so it kind of just moved on to the tradition throughout our family. So it was like I took a big 1,300-pound steer to 4-H my first year, so it was pretty crazy. But
the weekend's beef judging is wrapped up, and members are now looking forward to Canadian Western Agribition. Regina de Kloot, CTV News, Yorkton.
Well, those who are fans of the alcoholic drink, a Caesar beverage, made their way to Last Mountain Distillery in Lumsden on the weekend because Caesar Fest was on, the staple of the distillery since it opened 15 years ago, with many returning customers. 2025 marks the 11th time that the fest has been hosted. This was the first time, though, it was mainly inside because of the weather. In the past, they've had celebrity pickle eating contests. This year, they incorporated Plinko and some trivia.
So the first year we did Caesar Fest, we did it because it was really just our dill pickle vodka was taking off. Everybody loved the dill pickle vodka, and we thought, like, what is something we could do to kind of give back to the community in terms of dill pickle? One of the best parts of Caesar's is coming up with the garnish that you put on top. So we have like a huge long bar of garnishes that people can pick what they want to put on top, because it's really like the ultimate compliment to the Caesar, like the drink itself.
Popular drinks include the dill pickle beer and the dill pickle vodka. Customers could also visit a bar of garnishes to pair with that Caesar. Car prices are moving in opposite directions as the cost of new vehicles decline while used cars are getting more expensive. Auto Trader's second quarter report says increased demand and limited supply have led to 4 consecutive months of rising prices, leaving used car prices above last year's levels. Auto Trader says the pull forward effect, where vehicles were brought ahead of anticipated U.S. tariffs, helped drive up prices. As of June, used vehicle prices have jumped 3.6% year over year, while new vehicle prices have dropped 3.5%. Auto Trader says early buying could be a smart strategy, with prices for both new and used vehicles expected to rise the rest of the year. Stock markets going in different directions. The TSX rose by 16 points, while the Dow Jones dropped by 200 points. The Canadian dollar, it went down 1/100 cent to 72.60 cents U.S. Commodity front, gold down $55.38. West Texas Intermediate crude up 8 cents, while Western Canadian Select crude was down 1 cent. And gas in Regina did drop slightly. You can currently get it for $1.37.9 per liter at most places. Coming up tonight after the newscast, we've got American Ninja Warrior, followed by Match Game at 9 o'clock. Big Bang Theory, one of them. E-Talk, and then you got your local and your national news. Or national, sorry, and local news. Local news is at 11:30. A Canadian country superstar is bringing in his all-new acoustic tour to Saskatchewan.
Dallas Smith and his band Unplugged will hit several Saskatchewan communities this fall. He'll be in Swift Current on November 4th, Lloydminster on the 5th, Saskatoon on the 6th, and Yorkton on the 8th. Tickets go on sale Wednesday at 10 a.m. on DallasSmithMusic.com. There you go. And a farm near Ottawa is honoring a Canadian icon with a corn maze.
Like we're really moving.
Okay, I'll go this way also with you.
Oh. Which way do we go?
Do you think that was going to be a video of weapons?
I was slightly worried.
The maze is celebrating Terry Fox, and the fact he'll soon be on our $5 bill. This year is also the 45th anniversary of the Marathon of Hope, making the maze extra special, of course. The farm is also donating a portion of proceeds to the Terry Fox Foundation. So that's really cool. Interesting. Really cool.
Which way do we go?
We do have some breaking news. We got you to see Weapons on the weekend, which is kind of a thriller horror movie, and that is not in Sabine's comfort zone.
I watched it like this.
Well, maybe like 2% of the movie you watched, but yes.
What was your review? Real quick.
The group really enjoyed it.
How many stars?
5 out of 5. One of my faves. She hated it.
I cannot.
Everyone else liked it.